the ultimate Barner.
War Eagle, baby!
War Eagle.
War Eagle, hey!
The lifelong Bammer.
Roll Tide, Bama Nation.
Roll Tide. This is the Tigers and Tide Podcast. All the latest news from Auburn, Alabama, and the SEC. Here are your hosts, Brett Mason and Jamie Thomas.
Here we go with another Tigers and Tide Podcast. My name is Brett Mason. I am your resident Barner, along with my partner in crime and lifelong Bammer, Jamie Thomas. War Eagle, buddy.
Roll Tide, buddy. Roll Tide.
We're going to take a look around the SEC this week, and God, there's just craziness left and right. Everybody from threats of being beheaded to quarterbacks passed, coming back to mouth off. It's just been nuts. So let's get right into it. We'll start out with the serious aspect of it. It looks like from an injury standpoint, we'll just get Auburn out of the way first. It looks like all the major players at Auburn had injured. Casanova, McKenzie, they're all back. It looks like they'll be well to play for this weekend. So there isn't any really thing, luckily, major going on with Auburn as far as injuries go. And I know Alabama, you had several players get hurt in that game against State. Kenyon Drake, it looks like his season is done. That's one of those injuries that could do more than end the season. They're talking very optimistic. I mean, time will just tell about that, if he'll ever, be back to the level he was. But I'm assuming he has gone through the surgery, and we're just kind of waiting and seeing on how that progresses.
Yeah, he has had surgery. Derrick Henry had an injury very similar to this last year. He had the surgery, sit out spring practice, and we've seen what kind of running back he's turned into. From everything that I've read and everything that I've seen, it looks like an injury that he will be able to recover 100% and play football again. But that's really not at this point. That's really not the most important thing. We just want him to have a healthy recovery and get healthy and just be able to function 100%. And maybe he'll be able to play football again one day.
One of the more bizarre stories that I've seen in all my years of being a passionate college football fan is this weird guy on Twitter now who's apparently he's threatened some other people, but it rose to the level with Malzahn that they actually started a pretty big investigation. I haven't seen anything today on how it panned out. The guy's talking about he wanted to behead Gus Malzahn and set off C4 in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I'm just not really sure I've ever seen anybody get that crazy before, Does Harvey Updike have a Twitter account? I think that's even too much for him, man. And that's pretty rare.
He's kind of making Harvey look a little better every day, isn't he?
Speaking of Alabama players, boy, you've had two of them make some comments that stirred some people up this week. First of all, Fowler come out and said that he thought maybe the Alabama team was playing kind of scared, like they were scared to lose in that Mississippi State game. And I know from you and I talking about that and other podcasts, you kind of seem to agree with that. I don't think that's that far out there.
I don't think it's that far out there either. And, maybe Justin Fowler is what this team needs. Maybe he's going to be the voice that steps up and he's going to be the leader on the field. If I was a part of that football team and my teammate told me I was playing scared, I would do everything I could to prove him wrong. So, maybe that's the kick in the butt they need to get back on track.
On the other hand, A.J. McCarron, who's not on the team anymore, he's kind of thrown the gauntlet down. He just seems like he has sour grapes from something because of it's not the first time he's made comments. It seems like something might have went down his senior year between him and Saban that just caused him to be a little bitter or something.
I don't know. I was always a McCarron fan. Some of the things he said weren't exactly untrue. And I guess maybe he's got more right to say them than I do. But, he being the position he was on the team, his history, being a national champion, a multi-time national champion, he needs to show a little bit more support. And, it could be one of those things where some of his comments were, taken out of context. The media likes to do that. But, when it comes down to the fact of the matter is A.J. McCarron was very lucky to play in that program under Nick Saban and to be involved with that offense. You put him on some other schools maybe around the nation. A.J. may not have been as good as he was at Bama just because of the system. He was a system quarterback. Whether you want to believe that or not, I mean, I know he did a lot of great things with Alabama, but, I mean, that's just the way it is. I think AJ just needs to keep his mouth shut and, other than the occasional roll tide, just leave it to everybody else.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting because when you go out and you're a well-beloved player, which he was, he carried those teams through some tough games, close games, and obviously the championships and all that. I think that's your role is, you give me a roll tide when things are down and out. I think back to that horrible season that Auburn had, and I'm just going to throw Bo Jackson out there, for example. Well, he was on the sidelines. He was trying to talk the team up, and
right.
He could have been bashing Chiswick that year. He could have easily done things like that. God knows I was.
Yeah.
But
I was praising him, but okay.
But it seems like that might be better suited him, which we'll see how it pans out. And again, a lot of things he said, he's not necessarily wrong about them. It's just like you seem to pick a time when your team that you held allegiance to is down, and you kick them a little bit, would make a lot of sense.
Right. Like I said, he needs to be a motivation more than a distraction right now.
And finally, on my list of stuff is, has there ever been a bigger contrast between coaches where you watch at the end of the Ole Miss Alabama game and you see their coach out on the field nearly in tears talking about how proud he is of the team and just winning with such class and being grateful and things like that, compared to Muschamp, who barely eked out a win by 1 point, stands in the middle of the field, motions to the stands, and talks about how he's glad they were able to come in there and shut all the fans up. What a douche.
Well, I'll tell you, talk about first, the comparison to Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is a class act. For the most part, you don't see a whole lot of Ole Miss players in trouble or acting stupid. I know we had the one incident of, the one player kicking Drake while he was down, not justifying it, but, things happen in the heat of the moment. Sometimes it shouldn't happen. I know the players apologized. But for the most part, the Ole Miss players are, they're like their coach. They have that same attitude. They're grateful for just being there. They're thankful for the opportunity, and they're embracing the moment. And then you see a team like, a head coach like Will Muschamp and a Florida team who goes up and they barely beat a Tennessee team that's really not worth the paint, that they used to put their logo on the field this year. And, I mean, it's just it's no surprise you wake up the next day and you see that his quarterback's being suspended on the team for rape allegations. I mean, attitude reflects leadership, and Will Muschamp has not shown those signs of leadership yet. And until Florida makes a change, I'm really surprised Jeremy Foley's put up with it this long, because you kind of saw it a little bit last year, and then now you're seeing it really come out this year. I don't see how Muschamp survives another year at Florida.
I'm going to tell you, if I was a father and I had 3 5-star seniors, none of them would play for Muschamp.
None would play for Will Muschamp.
None of them would play for. We would go play for Troy before we would play for Muschamp, and because you just don't want. I don't think you want your kids around somebody like that. That picture of Muschamp that's real famous on the internet, where he's staring at somebody, and I don't remember who it is, but he looks like he just wishes they would die. And to me, that picture sums up everything about him. He's just low class. He's, I don't know. I think his days are numbered. I hope his days are numbered.
Me too.
Good riddance. So it's been an interesting week around the SEC with all the shakeups going on and all the people losing their minds. I only hope for bigger and better things next week, Bubba. I'm loving it.
I'm loving it too, man. This is going to be another great week of football. I'm sure there's going to be some folks lose their mind after this weekend. I'm going to be pulling for Auburn. I hope you guys beat Mississippi State. It's oh man, what a football game that's going to be. What a football game it's going to be all weekend with A&M and Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, and then Mississippi State and Auburn, and then of course we got TCU and Baylor playing also. I mean, this is going to we're going to keep separating the pretenders from the actual contenders again. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I tell you, we do have the potential to completely shake up the top 5 again. It could happen.
Hey, it could change 2 or 3 more times before the season's over.
Well, it should be a good weekend. I'm loving every minute of it, and we'll talk again as we get closer to the weekend and some more games of War Eagle, buddy.
Roll Tide.
Tigers and Tide is a weekly podcast covering football in the state of Alabama and the SEC. We don't claim to be football gurus or talking heads. We're fans just like you. If you like the show, please take a moment to share the link to this episode on your Facebook page. And don't forget to like our page at facebook.com/Tigers and Tide. That's facebook.com/Tigers and Tide. Have a great weekend and War Eagle. And Roll Tide.